Dusty May's shocking departure from Michigan to the Dallas Mavericks gives Mick Cronin UCLA a unique edge to land a game-changing international prospect, Nikola Kusturica.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free. It's your podcast. Welcome back, everydayers. Today, we're discussing any miscellaneous news, including UCLA losing a key pitcher in the transfer portal at the end of the show. Secondly, we're going to dive deep into UCLA recruiting, 27 recruiting, and 2029. Bob Chesney's an animal. We'll talk about that in segment 2. To lead things off, Mick Cronin, for the last time in this offseason, has an opportunity to land a game-changing piece. And of course, coincides with the somewhat breaking news of the day. According to, I believe, Shams Charania, who got it first from ESPN, mixture of some Pete Thamel recording also from ESPN, the big dog, last year's national champion, Michigan, is losing their head coach. And you're wondering, what does this exactly have to do with UCLA? Well, I'll talk about the Dusty May specifics coming up. But for UCLA, they're in the midst of a heated recruiting battle for a highly touted international prospect, one who could be lottery bound in 2 years. And due to rules that allow players, especially internationally, and age rules to get to the pros, he has to be a 2-year college-bound prospect. You know what UCLA needs? A 6'8", 6'9" wing. And what could Kusturica bring? A somewhat unathletic but very productive player who could help UCLA significantly in year 1 and maybe break out in year 2. So kind of diving into the knowledge from Travis Brandon of 24/7 Sports, UCLA's been in the mix with Kentucky, with Michigan. The Bruins have even battled a little bit with Gonzaga, but there's been kind of a consensus now that UCLA was in a heated battle with Michigan. And we've already seen UCLA in this battle with Michigan, whether it's a top-tier player in the portal on UCLA's own roster. UCLA probably didn't really want that to have happen. Dusty May has pulled out all the stops to get players at FAU to even build his championship roster. Now he's gone. And while there is, I believe, a coach in place internally for Michigan, one has to wonder, the coach that's been here that has a big cushy contract versus the internal hire that hasn't proven much. And I know he's not exactly the Auburn situation with Bruce Pearl to Stephen Pearl, but they went to the NIT last year. You look in Michigan, is that the same exact guy and coach you want to go to, which already has a pretty loaded roster, or a UCLA opportunity where they still have that final spot that could be game-changing? Again, I already said I didn't think UCLA could land a game-changing European prospect. They got one with Gunners Grinvalds, who can shoot and I think will be productive in various ways. I don't know how much so in year 1, but Kusturica is the one that could be the superstar that we don't know about. And it might not necessarily happen in year 1. Hailing from Serbia, UCLA with a chance to land a 2-year player. Cronin loves players who stay more than 1 year, 2 to 3 years, even out of the transfer portal. That's what he was able to get out of Tyler Bilodeau and Eric Daly Jr., Xavier Booker. Guys who stay very long are guys that Mick Cronin likes to recruit. And Kusturica could definitely fit that mold as a mandatory 2-year player in college before he can even sniff the NBA. UCLA has now opened up a path to get a player that can completely change the game. Is that a guarantee? No. Does Kentucky still probably want some? Yes. Is there some other dark horse that maybe we don't even know about? Yes, but even Branham of 24/7 Sports noted Michigan was definitely very interested. Very, very interested, and probably still very much so with this type of recruit and type of player. Now, I think Dusty May was good with international recruiting, good with getting big-time players and expanding on their abilities. Mick Cronin doesn't have the best track record with the internationals lately. Adayamaro was a great find. Berke's been a starter on multiple Big Ten teams or a contributor, including one in Nebraska before he transferred out, that made it to the tournament, got its first ever NCAA tournament win, but the Mara situation fizzled. Berke left. You've seen the Elan Fibles leave in the world. The Zankas didn't pan out necessarily. But the finding of Adayamaro is huge when it comes to what they're able to find in international recruiting. Maybe Gunners can be something special as well. Grunwald's, who came over to UCLA as their first official European commit. But Kusturica has something that I don't even think the other one or the other players have, which is a ceiling as a prospect that can make the lottery. I'm not even sure Trent Perry has that type of ceiling. Now, there's still a lot to see. This is a guy that doesn't like to be denied when he's close to the rim, that can kind of shoot, doesn't fully rely on athleticism, and might look a little bit slower on the court to develop early on. I've had many discussions with college basketball, hosts even like Andy Patton, who Locked On College Basketball, and Isaac Shade, that sometimes it still takes a year or two for these international prospects to develop. And for Mick Cronin, who wants to continue to have something for beyond just 26 to 27, Kusturica will represent that bridge as a reason to keep him around if his seat goes from lukewarm to warm to hot after this season. All right. Now, I don't think any of these seniors will be sticking around for a fifth year or for a fourth year for Trent Perry, regardless of what the rules put in. But if you have a promising European prospect that comes in, that can help recruiting significantly. You start the international and get the superstar. You bridge the gap with the local AAUs and the high school recruiting. And Mick Cronin could pull a rabbit out of his hat and all of a sudden turn something into something special. Now to pivot more to the Dusty May side of things. Moving to the Dallas Mavericks, it's very interesting. Got a family who are huge Dallas Mavericks fans. They're big Cooper Flag fans. Very sad about Luka, but that's a different story. I think that's a good hire for them. Cool. All right. Cool. That's the extent of what I get about the NBA. But luring Dusty May away takes a top-tier contender and I think significantly decreases their chances to repeat or become a mini dynasty over the next half decade. I'm going to discuss this in another episode in brief detail with Jay Stevens of Locked On Buckeyes. We're just happy that Dusty's gone. Ding dong, he's gone. Yay, cool. Make a song about it, whatever. Awesome. It was very clear that there's not a lot of love lost between Dusty May and the rest of the Big Ten brethren. You can see how much Mick Cronin would go out of his way to compliment just about every coach possible, and I don't recall one on record of him ever complimenting Dusty May. Why? Because Adayamara went to Michigan. Why? Because that national championship Michigan's hoisting right now was with UCLA's pride and joy, their development program. Mostly, Dusty May does know how to use 7-footers or anybody over 6'9" much better than Mick Cronin. But the fact that they lived out the dream that we thought UCLA would have. A Donovan Dent, Mar combination with a Bilodeau shooter, a daily hard worker, and a team that would have been deep, top to bottom, and Booker coming off the bench. That's a team that's pretty unstoppable, and I think would have competed to win the Big Ten, and dare I say a national championship. That's not what happened. So Dusty May's departure to the NBA is significant, and maybe shifts the balance of power. It means a home game for UCLA this year against Michigan in their conference slate should be closer to, I think, a win than it should be a toss-up like it's been a couple of years ago when they hosted the Wolverines for the first time as Big Ten Conference opponents, and then last year as a laugher on national television on Valentine's Day when the Bruins got embarrassed in the Adayamara revenge game. That's not the case anymore. So the Bruins now have a very realistic possibility. We've had this hope before, and now it's up to Mick Cronin to deliver this time and actually develop the prospect and maintain good relations for multiple years to make sure he realizes his full potential, hopefully, at UCLA. This is the last chance. And the path is finally opened up. I thought it was Tunde. We thought it was Blackwell. You could put in anybody. Maybe it was Matt Abel, who eventually committed elsewhere. And now this is the chance. And I'm not saying he's going to be a first-team Big Ten teamer all in year one. Maybe all rookie team. Who knows? But this is a significant player that could save the Mick Cronin era. Whether we like it or not, you still want this team, this program to be in good spirits, in a good place. And I think Nikola would definitely help move UCLA along rather than just this stagnant stage that they've been in all offseason looking for premier talent. This is the guy that can move the needle. And Michigan lost their dude. The balance of power might shift a little bit. Tom Izzo's probably a lot closer to retirement than he is winning another championship. Who knows? That could open the door for UCLA, under Mick Cronin or not, to be nationally relevant and good in the Big Ten, regardless of the travel. We'll just see if it actually plays out this way, and if the Bruins can take advantage of the moment. Seize the day We'll find out. Next, we're talking UCLA football recruiting. A little tidbit about Brady Edmonds. We'll talk about, another recruit shutting down his commitments and other opportunities, and a 29 prospect weapon at 28s. Bob Chesney's a madman. We'll discuss more next on Locked On UCLA. Workplace chaos can show up fast, and that's where Indeed Sponsored Jobs comes in. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach candidates who actually fit what you're looking for based on skills, experience, and location. Finding the right person can make all the difference, whether it's building a business or building a winning team. And that's what Mick Cronin's trying to do. He's trying to find about the player that's the fit. Is it this player specifically, Nikola Kusturica? When other situations are falling around him, this is the player that could fit the organization. May not be the biggest name, but it could be the right fit, and that's what can stand out to you, and that's what's the same idea behind Indeed Sponsored Jobs, helping connect organizations with candidates who are the right fit from the start. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes, less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, it's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. It's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Also, be a part of the Locked On UCLA Everydayer Club. Thanks for being an everydayer. Go a step further. Thanks for the support. Get ad-free shows. Get your shows with an ad-free fix. Learn more about it in the show notes or go to lockedonucla.supercast.com and be an everydayer to the next level. Thank you very much for your support, and I appreciate you all the time. And as always, go Bruins. All right, we're talking UCLA football recruiting. Class in 27, that's almost all but sealed. There's a couple of moving parts in this 27 class we'll discuss. But the big news out of the weekend was UCLA. It was funny enough, it got told to me in my Locked On Big Ten group chat after I was away from the phone. That's like, wait a minute. UCLA didn't get a 2029 commit. They got a 2028 commit. They got a 2029 commit. And I spent one of the last episodes talking about how UCLA setting things up for communications with the 28s. Might be somebody with a skill position. Maybe they go after a quarterback. No, in 2029, UCLA goes after a freshman starter in the Trinity League in the secondary. The kid's name, I'm definitely going to butcher it. According to Haas Fawcett of On3 Rivals, King Baraka Kizi, a freshman All-American from the Trinity League last year. That's where the connection for UCLA is now. They now are getting the top tier players before any other eyes are getting onto. And obviously, there's a whole lot of time between signing on the dotted line, NIL compensation, injuries, development that can make a big difference. But I will say my Locked On Big Ten and others brethren were very jealous of a player who was getting looked at by Notre Dame, by Oregon. And this is what he talked about, was the fact that he liked the relationship with the DB's coach. The SoCal connection, the ability to get the eyeballs on these players much sooner rather than later, the 7-on-7 circuits in your own backyard. UCLA gets a top-tier player. Now, I'm not entirely sure exactly how many stars there are, but you could argue UCLA's got the top class in 2029. Sarcasm implied, but that's a good start. Now, they skip the 28s for right now, but man, you go get a top-tier player who's a freshman All-American in high school, playing in a high school league that is so good, it's better than almost every other league in the country, and that includes prep academies, that includes the IMGs of the world. That's how good the Trinity League is, and that's what you're getting when you're getting a player out of Olu like Kazee, if I'm saying his name correctly, all right? Keeps the players home and keeps Bob Chesney's wizardry in recruiting going to the next level, all right? So that's one of the biggest wins of the weekend. So much development, so much time, so we're not going to harp too much on it. But the fact that, whoa, UCLA is looking deep into the future for their recruiting, and they're getting wins in almost every single little thing. Another thing, the top recruit in this class, Juju Johnson, who's a 5-star according to 24/7 Sports, shuts down his recruitment, announced that, hey, I'm going to commit to UCLA. This is a thing we're starting to see with these players, especially on social media, make it clear, hey, I know you're trying to make it a little bit different in my last minute choices. And I talked about how Juju would be somebody that maybe would get tampered with, if you could really say, even though you haven't signed with anybody yet. People would definitely prod around and say, hey, come to our school now that you're an elite athlete, can maybe go both ways. Juju Johnson from Long Beach Poly, we've talked about it. Brian Smith of the Locked On Portal podcast, big time guy in the recruiting world. That name sticks out, and it sticks out that he is committing and shutting down any other options and going to UCLA. All right. So now we go back to still with the 27 class, one that's closing in on top 10 status. If they flip Brady Edmonds, if they get an Eli Woodard, they could be in the top 5, which is insane. They could be the top Big Ten recruiting team in the country in less than a few months on the job for Bob Chesney and company. So let's talk about Brady Edmonds. I'm going to have more of a show with Locked On Buckeyes host Jay Stevens in the next episode, where we go a little bit more in depth as to what's the openings for UCLA, the openings for Ohio State, and the opportunity laid out for Edmonds at either school. But the fact that Edmonds just went on his official visit to Ohio State and came through and stuck with his official commitments in all those other things. He's still committed to Ohio State. And while there is a little bit of a back and forth, Ohio State did flirt with another quarterback. UCLA is definitely getting their hands dirty and trying to make things happen. And high school kids can change their decisions all the time. Edmonds is still up for grabs. But with the fact that he follows through and gave Ohio State that last official visit since being committed for close to 2 years, probably gives Ryan Day and company an extra edge. Now, if you're looking for a path to play right away, I think that's UCLA. Even talking with Jay Stevens, who will get that full episode out, he was talking more about, Ohio State's got the next plan. It's a development program. You're not going to play right away. UCLA may very well have the opportunity to play right away if Nico is gone, or his brother isn't going to be playing, or maybe he does. It's a battle that's more likely to be won with a skill set that will be on display, I think fairly similar. Edmonds to Nico, similar body size, athleticism potentially, that if UCLA showcases a way to score points, elevate Nico's abilities, limit his mistakes, then there's no better way of showcasing to your high school talent prior to them signing on early signing day or whenever you're going to sign, that you should come to UCLA. I mean, the Bruins are bringing out Troy Aikman. Ohio State's like, we just got the status and a championship, and we're just expecting to have a top 5 class, and we'll get whoever we want, whether it's high school or the portal. So they're not afraid, but it seems like they're going all in, and it's a battle. It can represent another chance for Chesney to look into the eyes of SoCal recruits and say, I went toe-to-toe with Ohio State and won. That's not where it's official right now, and he's still officially committed to Ohio State, but it's a chance for UCLA to make some noise. Now, the other part is seeing that Eli Woodard, who was one of the top receivers left in this 27 class, had a good official visit at UCLA, and after his decommitment from USC, he could make some noise. Now, UCLA has a very full receiving class in 27. I wonder what it would mean if UCLA did get a player of his caliber, stealing another former USC commit. I'm not sure that's where they're going to lean. I think all the focus in 2027 is mostly on Edmonds, and I think the Bruins have a better idea sooner rather than later if Edmonds is the answer in 27, or if they're going to have to go portal shopping in this offseason, which is not a bad option. It's just going to cost you a pretty penny. It absolutely will, one way or another. So let's recap. UCLA is a 29 DB committed who could very well be a 4 or 5 star, but there's way too early to even do those things. We'll just be hyped and pretend like it is, but that's how far in the future you're looking. Got the big battle for Edmonds. Their current 5-star Juju Johnson is shutting down and sticking with UCLA. And a receiver that's out there in 27 might be a UCLA Bruin, might have to require some movement around with the recruiting class. But the Bruins are still drawing the shock and awe value with whoever comes. They're pulling out all the stops to make sure that these recruits are enjoying their times at UCLA, official visit or not, whether the spots are filled or not. They want the most talented, best players in the area to go to UCLA, and Bob Chesney is continuing to follow through on those commitments. Super, super, super excited about that. Next, we're going to briefly touch on what could happen with UCLA baseball. They do have another shocking departure in the transfer portal. What does it mean for John Savage here in 2026? Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings in every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales to accounting to inventory marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on the growing of the business instead of just managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent, it's about having everyone working toward the same goal, and that's true in sports just like it is in business. Think about this, UCLA, they're aligned in their goals to make sure everybody they go after starts local. And they're trying to fill in every position and slot it in from the 27s to the 28s to the 29s. And the thing that stands out is how everybody's pulling in the same direction. And it's not just one great player coach, it's a coordinated effort across the entire program, just like it can be within an organization that makes it successful. Great organizations win because operations matter. That's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. Well, some interesting news to wrap up the show. It's UCLA baseball who continues to lose talent to the portal. They're going to lose so much expected talent to the MLB draft. Very, 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 very small chance you see anybody turn down the draft who is draft eligible to come to UCLA. Unlikely. That just doesn't happen. And now with the drafts changing and with everything changing, potentially with lockouts, you probably want to get that bonus in now than you're going to do before they rework it in the next CBA, before a lockout, and you probably want that payday, at least with a signing bonus, whether you're a top-tier pick like Rock Chalowski or anybody else. So don't expect any Bruin to turn down the MLB draft, whether you're a Logan Redmond, anybody, to come to, back to UCLA. So the big news, according to the transfer portal, I believe it was On3 and Pete Nakos, is that Landon Stump is no longer going to be at UCLA. Now, players can change their minds. You can withdraw from the transfer portal. But after an overhaul of the portal or overhaul the rotation from Redmond to Barnett, you're losing some significant pieces. Now, if you're going to look and project to the future, you're probably looking at Cervantes with him and his little dinosaur buddy as the starting pitcher on Friday. Maybe it's Wyland Moss who actually takes the Friday spot or the Saturday spot. And then you're looking for a Sunday starter while mixing in Tuesday starts. That's a lot of starting pitching you need to refill. The Bruins didn't have a lot of starting pitching and went to Omaha in 25. They had a lot better starting pitching here in 26, but injuries and just missed opportunities did them in the LA Regional here in 2026. So Stump is really a big piece. This is what his career numbers are. 5.23 ERA, 179 innings, 42 starts, where he had an ERA of about 4 here in 2026. Now, once they started shifting things around on Sunday starts, and Cervantes was doing very well, did very well in the postseason, you wonder if this is one of those things where did Savage say, hey, you're not cutting it? He has an opportunity elsewhere to get a bit of a bump? Or does Savage have a plan? Again, this is a guy that doesn't try to build through the portal as much as he got Redmond and Will Gasparino. How does he replace all this? Is there going to be a lot of high school talent that comes in that really overhauls the weekend rotation that was a point of strength at sometimes for UCLA in 2026, highlighted by Redmond, the development of freshman Cervantes, who turned down a second-round spot in the MLB draft. We wish Stump the best of luck, the best of opportunities. And if the situation arises where he's returned, I think they'd welcome him in with open arms. I'm not as fully in tune with behind-the-scenes action. Maybe it's a lack of connection with coaching. Maybe it's a I want more, and maybe it's this person pointing fingers. There's many things that could happen from being shown the door to wanting to go out the door yourself. And I'm not really sure what it could be. On3 with that report of the transfer portal for college baseball. It's another significant piece hitting to the portal and the MLB draft in various ways. We'll see how it plays out again. There's so much talent they're going to lose. It was the dream season, if you will, and the Bruins, as we're in the midst of the College World Series Championship Series right now in Omaha, and we weren't anywhere near it, despite being wire to wire preseason to postseason number one. It's just an unfortunate world, but that is such the cruel world in the sport of baseball. Doesn't always happen the way we expect it. Does not one bit. So to add to the transfer portal, UCLA is losing Peyton Brennan, Chris Grotus, Jack O'Connor, all various changes, various looks to new opportunities in the portal. We'll see where they go and where they head. But for now, the Bruins lose another one. And Stump, I think, is outside of Peyton, is the biggest pitcher they've lost. Peyton Brennan is the biggest name and contributor UCLA has lost, and he's gone more as a grad transfer. So that's going to do it. It's going to do it for us here on this Locked On UCLA episode. We're going to talk more UCLA and Ohio State battling and recruiting in the next episode with Jay Stevens, a crossover where we talk about UCLA and Ohio State's recruiting efforts, big games on the schedule, and again, a laughing and saying goodbye to Dusty May. Stay tuned for that crossover where we dive into what it looks like for Brady Edmonds to choose between UCLA and Ohio State. That's in the next episode. Got fun episodes way down the line with Locked On College Basketball and Tar Heels host Isaac Shade way down the line. Can't wait for those episodes to get released. And stay tuned for the latest on Nikola Kusturica, who very well could be a Bruin or could go elsewhere. Stay tuned. We'll talk about it. We'll react with the same excitement, anger, angst, passion as we always do here at Locked On UCLA. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for becoming an everydayer. Join the Everydayer Club. And thanks for making Locked On UCLA your first listen each and every day. Hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.